Hello, this is Cho of the Shiny Colors Discord, and welcome back to another episode of the Shiny Review. Sorry it's been so long since a proper review has happened. Times have just been busy, banners have not been as interesting as I'd hoped for, and truth be told, there was actually one banner I wanted to talk about a little while back, but just didn't have the time to do it. So, here we are, because I think this banner is pretty interesting, and has some value for a lot of people, I think. We're talking about, of course, the June Bride banner featuring a new Produce SSR for Tenka, and a support not-so-bridal SSR for Jury. Keep in mind, both of these cards are limited, and that means, in Shiny Colors, that reruns are nearly impossible. So, if you want either of these cards, now is really your only time to do it, unless you're willing to dip into the funds a little bit when paid reruns happen. So good luck with those if you decide to invest that way instead. Starting things off, of course, we have Tenka. It really hasn't been that long since Tenka's last Produce SSR, in other words, her Twicolate, but at least the release of this Bridal Tenka prevented the obvious outcome of a Bridal Amana this year. Sorry to all the Mikoto fans that thought it might have been Bridal Mikoto, but it's Tenka time. Tenka 9 is a pure visual unit with access to healing, passive activation buffs, and AoE appeals to swiftly deal with every judge at once. She's another member of the Plus Appeal Club, which cements herself in an Alstroemeria team who needs plenty of healing support to activate. It never fails, a limited Tenka will make immediate impact, or at the very least become the focal point of Alstromedia's strategy once released. Tenka 4 users can retire that card safely once they get copies of this new Tenka, who accomplishes practically everything you would want out of an Alstroemeria card. She has capabilities as both a visual unit and as a center, so you have some amount of flexibility in how you can choose to build her. Her roles are center, attack all, buffer, healer, and passive activation boosts, and I highly recommend pulling for this Tenka. If you're somebody that hasn't built Alstroemeria before, this is a great card to start with, and if you're already building visual Alstroemeria, this is going to be a huge piece to your team going forward. Tenka's 1-star passive is a visual 40% up and mental 3% heal if you have all of Alstroemeria on your team, and the turn count is 2 or earlier. This is a 30% chance to activate twice. Her 2-star passive is a visual 100% up and mental 5% heal that requires the number of heals in the Fest to be 5 or more. This has a 30% chance to activate twice. This also gives you a plus 50 visual uncap. Speaking of, her 3-star upgrade is a visual plus 150 uncap. Her 4-star passive is a visual 150% up if the number of heals in the Fest is 8 or more, and this has a 30% chance to activate twice. This also gives you a visual plus 100 uncap. For the support recommendations, the MVP, of course, is Debutaro Amana, with cards like Ghost Chiyuki and Marker Toru up there as well. Visual Alstroemeria have great options with Amana and Chiyuki, which is even better when you consider that Visual has been getting great permanent SSR options. Cards like Chiyuki and especially Toru are great at building cards for just general visual teams by having a great assortment of support skills that make it way easier to make stronger rooms, and to gather up stats the way you need them to. Even the Natsuha has some great skills for this as well. So, pair up all of your strongest abilities and look to level up your rooms ASAP for high gains using cards like Toru as well as Natsuha. Of course, we also have Mikoto and Kaho, both staple cards to visual teams almost entirely since their release, so these cards are great to work in tandem with your permanent SSRs. Now, since the major pieces to our Alstroemeria lineup accomplish the same thing, so they both give you visual buffs, they both heal you. Instead of going to a more specialized section for healing and just repeating what we've said about the other cards, we'll take a look at some of the other supports that have been doing well for teams like this, notably the new Jury alongside the Bathhouse Rinzai and New Year's Chiyoko. Since the ideal combination of Alstroemeria supports provide healing, this section this time around gets to highlight how strong Visual Hokura's limited support lineup has gotten over the year. With this new Jury, paired up with the cards above, so Natsuha, Kaho, Rinzai, and Choko, you actually have a lot of power going on between their masteries and passives that work well on almost every single lineup. Now, not everything is built equally here. Jury does have some effects that are only really useful for Hokura, as does Choko, but the rest of them all have very solid effects and passives, as well as abilities throughout the Produce run that are going to help make some really strong cards. So if you're missing out on Alstroemeria pieces and maybe have fallen into some visual Hokura, they're a great shell to use as well. For the team recommendation, we've got a bit of an interesting assortment, including Chiyuki 5, My Songs Collection Amana or Amana 4. We have Hinana, her visual variant, as well as Twaikole Mono. This variation of the build is mostly inspired by some grade 7 players making use of Tenka 9. The intent of the build is to amass healing effects through Amana and Chiyuki, while also utilizing strong cards like Twaikole Mono to dish out heavy damage. Now, Hinana at first glance might be a filler unit to some extent, but the real utility here is in her evasion, which can supplement Alstromedia's playstyle at staying healthy, since their healing effects aren't particularly strong and can see some damage accumulate depending on how aggressive the fest season is. This is where Amana 4 comes in, and why I think Amana's selection is a bit of a 50-50. Amana 4 has healing overflow on both of her appeals, which goes hand in hand with both Tenka 9 and Hinana's evasion. Because the way that it works is that it's a 30% heal that for every bit that you don't heal with it, it gets converted into memory gauge. If you're always at full health, that's a huge boost to your memory gauge to consistently get to your memory appeal. Now, My Kole Amana plays a bit more into the healing aspect of Alstromeria, having appeals that grant you some regen and have passives that play off of the heal count as well. The difference being is that she doesn't have the memory gauge charge that Amana 4 does. There's not really a right or wrong answer as to which Amana you prefer, but just recognize the strengths and weaknesses of either choice as you decide to build the team. Now, onto the grades. As a center, S+ to SS-. Once again, Tenka cannot stop winning when it comes to having an extremely good memory appeal. The trickiest part about this memory appeal is that her link appeal requires at least 4 healing instances to reach max power. But with the ideal setup, you'll have more than 4 heals before you're ready to use this, as you should also be able to activate your 5 or more or even 8 or more healing passives to take out any judge giving you issue. As a unit, S+ to SS. Tenka is extremely strong. She's an AoE card with all these innate benefits to her unit, which is honestly insane. It's hard to think that for a long time, AoE appeals had to either have low damage or some kind of trade-off in order to make them usable, where here we're getting a ton of AoE attacks that have so many good effects to them. She's got a lot of great passives to work into her kit that play off of her team extremely well. She's very flexible to be either your main damage dealer in the visual position, or your decisive center with her hefty memory appeal. No matter what your focus is, you're certain to have a powerful card in your hands by producing this Tenka. Next up we then have Juri. Peppering Hokuto producers with even more cards post-anniversary, our not-so-bridal Juri is a visual support with all the components of a rainbow support. She comes with plenty of options for many types of Hokuto teams, as well as at least one passive that's sure to benefit any producer. Outside of the much better appeal on Morning Glory Juri for vocal teams, this Juri might ultimately replace every Juri SSR on Hokuto teams currently, with an impressive support skill selection and insane levels of flexibility. This card's real neat, to me at least. Her support skills are Idol's Bond, and then she has all unique abilities after that. Unit Mastery SP reaching +8 at level 70, +5 at level 50. Vocal Mastery, Dance Mastery, and Visual Mastery limit ups, so these apply to the respective rooms, all reaching +4 at level 80, +3 at level 75, or +2 at level 60. Perfect Mastery reaching +7 at level 80, +4 at level 70, or +3 at level 65. And then lastly, Unit Mastery Stamina reaching +2 at level 65, or +1 at level 40. Her support appeal does scale, starting at a Visual 3.0, working its way up to a Visual 3.5 by level 80. Her TFD idea is Dance, her Insight token for Grad is Dance, and her proficiencies in Landing Point are in Dance and Visual. Juri's 0-star appeal is a Visual 3.0 that grants you 30% attention for 3 turns. Her 1-star passive is a Visual 50% up if Juri's on your team, and it has a 20% chance to activate once. Her 2-star passive is a Vocal Dance Visual 90% up as long as 5 or more Hokuto members are in the skill history. This has a 20% chance to activate twice. Her 3-star has 2 separate Visual +50 uncaps, and her 4-star upgrade has 2 things. First, the appeal, which is a Visual 4.0 that applies 30% attention up for 3 turns, and also duets guaranteed with Juri. The second is a Vocal Dance Visual 75% up passive that requires you to be in the leader position and has a 20% chance to activate once. Juri, I think, gets an easy S+. As mentioned earlier, I think this Juri support is really neat for a multitude of reasons. She's got all the pieces you'd want for a focused visual support, but also has the ability to flex into vocal or dance depending on the circumstance, while her passives aren't holding her back from being functional as they have good damage and good activation rates given their circumstances. This is maybe their best attempt at a rainbow support yet for Hokura, which automatically raises her a few points in my book. Hopefully, as we continue to get more rainbow-style supports, that they use this card as the blueprint. And maybe if they decide to finally upgrade cards after it's been almost a year again, that we could see the rainbow supports that already exist between Hokura and even cards like Antika see similar upgrades. I moderately to highly recommend pulling for this jury, especially if you are playing Hokura or just need an additional piece in your visual team. So, that'll do it for the video today. Thank you so much, as always, for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel over the years. It really does mean a lot to see you comment on the videos or just share it around. Lets me know that I'm doing something right. Next time we'll talk about whatever banner comes next, or if there's some topic I feel like I want to talk about with the game, it might come up then too. So, till then, thank you again for watching. I've been Sho. Have a wonderful rest of your day.